Well, good morning, Grace Fellowship. We're glad that you're here on this balmy Sunday morning, 20-degree weather. We are in this series called Change, and while we're launching into this series, I can't think of a better announcement to make than baptism. If baptism is your next step, or if you're not sure if that is your next step, we're giving you this opportunity on January the 28th, 2 weeks from today. Jesus was baptized. He commanded all of his followers to be baptized. The New Testament, in almost every New Testament book, talks about the importance of baptism as an expression of your faith in the sacrifice of Christ on your behalf. And so there's a place on your connection card if you're ready for that step, or if you just have questions about that, we can give you everything you need to make an informed decision with regard to that next spiritual step. So think and pray about that. Also coming up in February, if you can believe we're talking about February already, we are launching a new series in February called Monday is Coming, and we're looking for small group hosts to facilitate that small group study in conjunction with our Sunday morning series. So if if you would entertain that or have questions about that, there again is a place on your connection card that you can check, and we'll give you the information to do that as well. We are in the middle of the Proverbs 31 challenge. We're talking about change, and this is the bookmark that we gave away last week and the week before. And we're encouraging you to read through Proverbs. You can start today. Today is the 14th, and so you would read chapter 14 today and then progress on through the end of the month. It's been beneficial to me. I hope it's been beneficial to you. And we're going to look at a passage from Proverbs today. So if you grab your Bible and turn to chapter 4, or grab the black Bible that's near you in one of the seat backs. I want that passage to be in front of you this morning because I'm going to refer to parts of that passage throughout the message. But I want to read out loud Proverbs 4, starting with verse 20. And so I want you to follow along or listen to me as I read Proverbs chapter 4, starting with verse 20. Here we go. My son, be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape from your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and healing to all their flesh. Verse 23, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. This is a very familiar verse to many of us. Psalm 4:23. I want to put this verse on the screen in the NIV version, and I want you to read this verse out loud with me. Here we go. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Continues on in chapter 4. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be secure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. I want to thank Tim Hayward for speaking to us last week about the importance of our words, changing our words, and how vital, how powerful our words are in changing our life. If you want to change your life, you've got to change what comes out of your mouth. Jesus said in Matthew 12, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of the heart, things come out of your mouth. Now, question, have you ever said anything? Has anything ever come out of your mouth that shocked even you? I mean, you said it and then you asked yourself, where in the world did that come from? Why did I say that? And Jesus is saying that what comes out of your mouth, friends, is not an accident. It's not an accident. He's not saying that what you say is intentional. He's just saying that it's not without cause, that it came from somewhere. Someone, something instigated the word that came out of your mouth. You may not have intended to say it. I mean, we're pretty good at monitoring what we say, right? All of us are fairly good at monitoring what comes out of our mouth. We call it a filter. A filter? Some of you are wondering, what's a filter? Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you don't know what a filter is, then you probably don't have one. But that's okay because everyone around you knows that you don't have one, and so we manage accordingly. But here's the thing. We want to say something, but we don't. Or we're tempted to say something, but we filter it. Sometimes in our heart, we monitor what comes out of our mouth because some things come out of our mouth that shouldn't come out of our mouth. And sometimes our filter doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. I had to apologize to someone a couple of weeks ago for something that I said. I mean, I didn't intend to say it. I was sorry that I said it, and I had to apologize for having said it. I had to make that right. And to be honest with you, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what I said and who I said it to because I'm not a good enough person to be that honest. But anyway, here's the, I was just looking for a laugh. I mean, have you ever done that? I mean, how many times did you say something thinking that it would be funny and it actually was offensive or hurtful to someone else? And so I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to say that thing or to be offensive in that, and I had to apologize for that. And so I did. But here's the next step. I had to face the truth about me. I mean, there was a reason why this came out of my mouth, and I had to examine this. I mean, why would I say something like that? What prompted me? This is not I wouldn't want to say that in public, and this is not the kind of person that I would want to be, to say those kind of things. And so what was inside of me that prompted me to say something that I never intended to say? I needed to confess it. I needed to deal with it. And then I look at this Matthew 12 verse, and I'm reminded that words are not an accident, friends. The things that come out of your mouth, that came from somewhere. You may not even know where it came from. But there was a thought that got registered in your heart, a belief or an opinion that got lodged into your heart. You entertained it, you nurtured it, or in some other way, your sinful brokenness just inspired a comment, and in an unfiltered moment, sometimes without intention, words come out. So the question before us this morning is, how do you keep that from happening, right? I mean, how do you protect yourself from saying the wrong thing? And here's what we're going to learn today. I mean, this series is all about change. And if you look at that verse, Jesus is saying to us that you don't have a word problem. You have a heart problem. Out of the abundance of your heart is where those words come from. And so if you want to change your words, you've got to change your heart. So Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 again. Let's read this out loud together again. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. A couple of questions this morning. What is the heart? What does the Bible mean when it talks about the heart? What does it mean to guard the heart? Why should we guard it, and how can we guard it? Here's the first question, friends. The Bible has a lot to say about the heart. It's mentioned over 850 times in the Bible. It's rich with meaning. And the challenge before us as 21st century human beings. Here's the thing. Thousands of years ago in Greek philosophy, they regarded the essence of man to be revealed in his ability to reason. It was all about the mind. It was all about thinking. Both Greeks and Romans thought that the mind was the seat of reason and the heart was the seat of emotion. We kind of get that. I mean, we kind of understand that to be the case today. But here's the problem. They believed that reason was far superior to emotion, to the point that you needed to deny and repress emotion. If you wanted to be strong and successful, you ignored emotion in your life. You focused on reason. Rationality was the name of the game. You are what you think, and nothing else, nothing less. Now, fast forward 2,500 years, friends, we don't live in that world anymore. We don't. I mean, we don't live in a thinking culture. We live in a feeling culture. Doesn't matter what the facts is. It doesn't matter what the truth is. It doesn't matter what reality is, what's rational. You feel it, it's true. You feel it, it's true for you. What you are, what you feel. And under no circumstance, this is our culture, should you repress or suppress or deny those emotions. You should be able to express those emotions without filter, even if they contradict reality, even if they contradict natural fact or rational thought. You are what you feel. Now, here's the thing with the Bible, and especially when we look at this passage, the Bible takes neither of those routes. According to the Bible, everything flows from the heart. Everything. In other words, what you think, what you feel, it's inseparable. You cannot change one without changing the other. So my heart, your heart, is the sum total of who you are. My heart is the sum total of who I am. That's what the Bible is teaching us here. The heart is the control center of your life. Your whole life flows out of your heart. Woody Allen said years ago, the heart wants what it wants. It just wants what it wants. Where the heart goes, you go. And basically, according to the Bible, he's right. Listen to what the Bible says about the heart. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinks in his heart. So the heart can be rational. The heart thinks. When a person says, maybe you said, I've had a change of heart. I've had a change of heart. What are you saying? What do you mean? You mean you've changed your mind. But you tie the thoughts and the emotion together. I've had a change of heart. So your heart can be rational and your heart can be emotional. All through Scripture, and we understand this. Exodus 4:14, your heart can be glad. Proverbs 25:20, your heart can be heavy. Psalm 39:3, your heart can be angry. Joshua 24:23 says that your heart, you can incline your heart or you can direct your heart, which means you can decide with your heart, you can commit with your heart. Your will, what you do, is centered in your heart. 1 John 3:20 says that your heart can condemn you or convict you. And Jeremiah 17:9 says our heart can be deceived. We can be blind in our hearts. That's why God wants to cleanse our hearts and give us a new heart. That's why the Bible promises a new heart. All of this to say, your heart is who you are. Your heart. What the Bible talks about when it's referring to the heart, it's talking about all of your life. All of who you are. It's talking about what you love the most, what you trust most, what you desire and long for most, what you treasure most, what captures your imagination, what you think and what you feel. That's why the Bible says to guard it, because everything in your life, your whole person, everything that you are made of, has its roots in the crevices of the heart. The Bible is big on the heart, which leads us to the second question. What does it mean to guard it? To guard it, because we live, as I said, we live in an emotional culture where you are just what you feel. And a lot of us think that guarding our hearts is simply controlling our emotions. But the Bible says it's much more than that. Above all else, the verse says, which is to say, above all else, the most important thing that you can do in life is to guard your heart. The most important thing you can do in life is to guard your heart. You lock your car so no one can steal it. So more than that, guard your heart. You secure your wealth by putting it in banks and safe deposit boxes and what more, so that no one can get to it. More than that, you should be guarding, protecting your heart above all else. If you don't do anything else, if you do everything else, more than that, you should be guarding your heart. This, by the way, is the only time this Hebrew phrase is used in the Old Testament. This is the only time above all else is used, which is to say, God is saying to us, friends, there's nothing more important to you than your heart. And you need to guard it. If you guard nothing else in life, you've got to guard your heart, which leads us to the next question. Why? I mean, why should I guard my heart? Well, again, I said because everything flows from the heart. In the English Standard Version that I read a few minutes ago, for from it says, flow the springs of life, the wellspring of life. That word is describing the source of water, headwaters, the fountainhead, the artesian source of water. And we understand this, friends, when everything upstream affects everything downstream, it's going to filter down. If the source is tainted, nothing else is going to be safe. And so if your heart is bad, if your heart is tainted, if your heart is stained, then what you think will be distorted. If your heart is bad, what you feel will be unreliable. If your heart is bad, then what you do will be immoral. Your heart. Let me give you two practical reasons why you need to guard your heart. Number one, your heart is valuable. Your heart is valuable. What is it that you protect most in life? When you think about wanting to protect something, your family, your possessions, your health, more than that, above all else. I actually had a car once that I literally stopped locking. If I forgot to lock it and walked into the mall or into the store, I didn't run back to lock it. I thought, you know what? It was 14 years old. It had 280,000 miles on it. I thought if somebody steals this, they deserve it. They must need it more than I do. It lost value to me. Now, in a very practical sense, no one would argue the value of the heart. I mean, there are parts of your body that you can amputate, that you can extract. You can donate parts of your body, and you will be just fine. But nobody can live without the heart. We all know that. And the condition of our heart, the quality of our heart, determines the quality of our life. I mean, if your heart is in poor condition, the rest of your life, your functioning, I mean, what you think, what you feel, what you do, what you live for, what you die for, what you long for, what you hope for. And here's the deal, friends. When you set your heart on something, when your heart is focused on something, when you incline your heart towards something, I want to ask you, have you ever had somebody in your life and they have fallen in love and you're kind of shaking your head saying, I don't get it? Have you ever said that? I mean, what in the world do they see in that person? Somebody explain this to me. What are they thinking? What are they doing with that? And it could be a best friend, or maybe your kids. Someone you work with, or someone and they're in love and you're dumbfounded, and they're making all kinds of rash and irrational decisions. Why? Well, because the heart wants what it wants. You can't tell them anything because they're not listening. What the heart loves, friends, what the heart loves, the heart will find reasonable. And what the heart finds reasonable, the heart will find acceptable. We can rationalize anything when our heart is set. That's why the Bible says that the heart can be blinded, it can be deceived. Friends, it's amazing how out of touch with reality. Maybe it's not amazing, but think about how easily it is for our hearts to be out of touch with reality when it is not guarded and protected. Which leads to the second reason. Why should you guard your heart? Because one, it's valuable. Number two, because it's vulnerable. Your heart is vulnerable. Your heart, my heart, friends, our hearts are tender and sensitive and easily hurt and scarred. Our hearts can be fickle and easily influenced. Our hearts can be hardened. Our hearts can become cold and unfeeling. Life has a way of lodging things in our heart that we find very difficult to dislodge and remove. Our hearts can be deceived. It can be stolen. It can be broken. And here's the thing about your hearts, friends. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can guard against what happens in you. God is saying that there's nothing more valuable, nothing more vulnerable than your heart, and so nothing more vital than for you to guard and protect what happens in your heart. I mean, I'll be honest with this one. I'm embarrassed to admit how easily I'm able to let heart things slide, to not give attention, how inattentive I can be with my heart. The most important thing in my life and the condition of my heart, the core of who I am, my heart that determines the course of my life, the depth of my character, the quality of my relationships, the effectiveness of my life, my ministry, my career, the potential and the ability to receive life with joy regardless of circumstance, rests on the condition of my heart. And when I leave that heart unprotected and unguarded, well, how do you do this? I mean, how do you guard your heart? Here's the thing, and this is so important because we go through life so many times blaming this person or that circumstance. Sometimes we blame God. We just blame life in general for what we think and how we feel and how our life is flowing out. When in reality, it all comes down to our responsibility to guard and protect our own hearts. And this is not to minimize the circumstances that you've been dealt in life. This is not to excuse those who have hurt you and sinned against you. But you've got to listen to this very carefully. Proverbs 4:23, the condition of your heart, the health of your heart, what comes out of your heart. Friends, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can guard against what happens in you. In verse 20, if you look at that, this passage makes clear. In fact, all of Proverbs, the whole book of Proverbs is a father's attempt to impart wisdom to his son. And he's telling him here in this verse that the responsibility for the condition of your heart rests with you. No one else can do that for you, which means you cannot blame anyone or anything. You cannot blame the circumstances of your life. You cannot blame any other person and what they've done to you. The condition of your heart rests with you and your ability and willingness to guard it. What happens to you is out of your control, but what happens in you, no one can control but you. That's what this verse is saying. It's your life. It's your heart. So how do you guard it? Two things. Number one, you've got to listen to the right voice. You've got to constantly be listening to the right voice. Friends, we live in a culture that is telling us all kinds of destructive things about our hearts. We live in a culture where it values feelings over thinking.
We live in a culture that says you are what you feel, and it gets us in trouble all the time. And the world tells you to go with your gut, to listen to your heart, and don't let anyone tell you to think or feel or do differently. To thine own self be true. If you feel it, then it's true for you. So find your own truth, and don't let anyone tell you to suppress that or to deny that, because that's who you are. This is the only life you've got. So if you're going to have any happiness, you've got to go get it, and you've got to go get it now, and you've got to get it any way that you can. You need to live free. You need to do what you feel, because this is all there is. But friends, the Bible tells a different story. The Bible tells us that there is a source of wisdom that created the world, that created you, that gave you life. Your life is not a random coincidence. It is a divine gift with a purpose and a destiny. You have the gift of life that needs to be appreciated and valued, respected and honored. And in those moments where you realize that life does not work the way that it should, that your heart does not function the way that it should, even in those moments where we're most honest about things not working out, the Bible gives us an explanation of why that is. It tells us why the world is broken, why your heart is broken. And not only that, it gives us a solution to that brokenness. And it tells you that we have the promise of a new heart and a new life. According to the Bible, the life that you're living today is just simply a foretaste of the life that God has for you tomorrow. If you honor him and acknowledge him and follow him, that you surrender, when you surrender your heart to him, which means that any happiness that you have available in this life, you don't have to get it now. You don't have to get it any way that you can. You don't have to surrender your heart. You don't have to risk your heart to the empty promises of this world. You can guard your heart against the empty promises of this world and open your heart to the eternal promises of your Creator. Friends, this is the fork in the road that every human being must face. Which story are you going to go with? Which path are you going to choose? If you have your Bible in front of you, look at verse 18. It says, the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn. Verse 19, it says the way or the path of the wicked is like deep darkness. And so verse 20, my son, this father is talking to his son. He says, listen to my words. Listen to my words. Number 2, choose the right path. Choose the right path. Verse 26 says, ponder the path. Friends, your life is a path. And every decision, every choice leads you down a certain path. Now, 2 weeks ago when we started this series, I introduced 3 types of people in the world: the simple, the fool, and the wise. Proverbs will talk about the simple person, the foolish person, and the wise person. And we all start out as simple people. We're all born without knowledge and insight. We're not stupid, we're just simple. We don't have knowledge and insight. And this is what the Father is giving to his Son in the book of Proverbs: knowledge and insight. He's teaching him what is good, what is right, what is wise. We need knowledge and insight. And what we do with that knowledge and insight determines whether we will become a foolish person or a wise person. And Proverbs tells us that a wise person, as he gains knowledge and insight, he hungers for more knowledge and insight. He realizes that he doesn't have all the knowledge and insight that he could. And so he hungers for all that he can get. A fool, on the other hand, rejects that. A fool thinks he's right in his own eyes. A fool thinks he has his own way to go, and he has all the answers that he needs to life. And friends, we're all fools at some point. I mean, we've all rejected the knowledge of God. We've all gone our own way to our own destruction. And here's the thing, and Proverbs will tell us this too: you aren't wise because you're smart. I mean, you need intelligence, you need knowledge and insight, but intelligence and insight, knowledge is no guarantee that you will be wise. I mean, there's a lot of smart idiots in the world. Don't elbow them right now, but I mean, that's just the reality of our world. There's a lot of people with a lot of intelligence. They don't always act wisely with what they know to be right and true. Wisdom is not automatic. Wisdom comes through diligence and determination, a hunger and a longing for wisdom. Wisdom doesn't come with age. You're not more wise because you're older. Wisdom comes with humility. Humble enough to know that your heart is vulnerable and easily deceived. Humble enough to guard your heart because you know that the condition of your heart determines the course of your life. So how's your heart? What's the condition of your heart? I want to go through a series of questions, and I want you to just sit there and listen for a minute. Maybe ask the Holy Spirit to maybe convict your heart of any question that I might pose that would be affecting the condition of your heart in this moment. But let me just ask you about your heart. How's your heart in this moment of your life? Are you mad at anybody right now? Are you at odds in a relationship, and are you waiting for that person to make the first move to make it right? Are you just kind of standing back and judging? Are you angry? Are you resentful? Is your heart filled with bitterness right now? Is there something going on that you can't seem to get right because you're so mad? Are you secretly celebrating someone's failure or disappointment? I mean, is your heart jealous or envious? You're looking at other people and thinking that they have a better way than you, and you're just kind of harboring all of this kind of resentment and jealousy toward other people and maybe toward God. Are you harboring secrets that's eating away at your heart? Is there something in your life that you hope nobody will find out, a question that nobody will ask you because you're trying to hide this dark place in your heart and you're not being honest with it, you're not confessing it? Is your heart in a dry place? Are you tired? Are you sad? Are you hurting? What's the condition of your heart? Are you finding it hard to be kind and loving to those who love you? I mean, is your heart filled with negativity or criticism or pessimism or cynicism? Is your heart lonely or fearful or worried? How's your heart? And for those of us who are brave enough to admit the true condition of our hearts, here's the thing. Sometimes we get sidetracked in trying to correct the condition of our heart. I mean, I just need to try harder. I mean, I need a new plan or a new strategy. I just need to try harder with the plan that I've got. And friends, trying harder never works. Some of us think, well, maybe this Christianity thing isn't the thing that I just need to find something new. Maybe I'm thinking wrong about this thing, and so I just need a new idea. Friends, the Bible talks about transforming your mind so that your heart can be changed. All of it flows out of your heart. And here's the bottom line, friends. Maybe you need to write this down. You will never change how you live until you change who you love. You will never change the course of your life until you change the object of your love, what your heart is drawn to, what your heart is inclined toward. You will never change the path of your life until you change the object of your love. Who do you love? And here's how this works, friends. You will never change who you love until you realize who loves you. Trying harder, trying to do the right thing, trying to do the good thing doesn't change your heart. What changes your heart is when you realize Jesus said, you will never separate your heart from your treasure. Because where your treasure is, what you long for, what you desire for, your heart will always be found there. So friends, this is the gospel. Do you know how much you are loved, how much you are treasured? When you look at the cross and you see what God has done for you in Christ, the extent to which Christ expressed his love for you while we were still sinners, while your heart was still hard and cold and unfeeling, God's heart went out to you. God's heart was broken for you. And when your heart will never be broken until you realize the heart that was broken for you. How much amazing love, how can it be that you would die for me? And when you realize that, when you come to grips with who loves you, that's the only thing that will change your love. And when you change your love, friends, that's when your life changes. You will only change when you treasure the one that has treasured you. When you break for the one who has broken for you, when you love the one who loved you first. If you're not a Christian, if you don't understand this, if you have questions about this, I'll be at the front of the stage because we want you to know how much you are loved by the one who died for you and how your life can be changed because of that. If you have a need for prayer, I would love to pray with you this morning because there's nothing more important for you than to protect the heart that God wants to live in and reside in. I want to pray for you this morning. I want to read this prayer for you, but before I do this, I want you to complete this statement in your heart, in your mind. Complete this statement. God, right now my heart is. Got that? God, right now my heart is what? Angry, hurting, jealous, alone, fearful, worried, whatever. How's your heart? Tell God how your heart is. Right now, my heart is what? Let's bow our heads. May your restless heart be calmed by the peace of God. May your hurting heart be healed by the mercy of God. May your fearful heart be protected by the power of God. May your lonely heart be filled with the presence of God. May your jealous, angry heart be cleansed by the unconditional grace of God. May your lustful, greedy heart be transformed by the abundance of God. May your doubting heart be informed by the truth of God. God, grant us a clean heart, a pure heart, a hungry heart, a heart that longs for you as a deer pants for water. May our hearts seek you and search for you and be devoted to you and love you above all else, with vigilance, Father. May we love the one who loves us. So, Father, in this moment, as we examine our hearts, we want to express our hearts in our gratitude and in our generosity. As we continue on in this service, Father, bless our gifts. In Jesus' name, amen.